I think what I really loved about Leo Vieira is how he had to provide. And I can totally relate to that because that's what I'm doing right now is I have to provide for my family. So with me being the sole income and I'm just spending money right now, with Leo when he had to provide for help his father, he found a career path that he really enjoyed doing, which he first time initially didn't think it was a career path. That discovery was just so, in the moment, a bright spot for me to discover while I was live interviewing. After interviewing legends in the Jiu-Jitsu game, I thought the chance of training with them is the next move. However, I injured my neck in December of 2004 in judo class. I kept training after a couple of weeks and then re-injured my neck. A few years later, I was in a car wreck and the disc herniations got worse. Training was just temporary because every time I would train twice a week, my neck would hurt. And then I would have to take 2-3 months off from the pain. My good friend Sam, who at that time was a 4-stripe white belt under the Jiu-Jitsu legend John Jacques Machado, trained me for free for a couple of years. Then the pandemic happened. I took 2020 until 2022 off, not only because of the pandemic, but my mother started suffering from diabetes, asthma, COPD, high blood pressure, and my brother received an autoimmune disease called Guillain-Barré syndrome. Both were also put on dialysis within a year. Then on February 2022, a friendly acquaintance, John Evans, who is a great jiu-jitsu analyst and teacher, posted on Instagram that he was giving private lessons at a special rate. I took one lesson from him and now he is my jiu-jitsu instructor. So now I restart my training in jiu-jitsu. So basically this is the bump. If you move in a little bit, Sam, right here. I don't know if you guys can see that bump right there. No. So this is from 2000 and, let me turn around this way. This is from 2019.
Wait, so what is this?
That's the disc protruding into my spine.
So this straight line is the spinal column.
Right. You see,
with the nerves.
You see these ones that look normal? Yeah. And then suddenly there's a bump?
Yeah, that doesn't look great.
At that time, down to 11 millimeter
Whoa,
herniation.
Wow. Jeez.
Right. So, like, if you take a look at the neck, like, you know, bone marrow on toast.
Yes.
Fucking amazing. It normally looks like this.
Yep.
It's whole.
Yeah, and you can see right through it.
And then that's that disc where it exploded. So like a lot of the disc is gone.
Now, did this cause your hands and feet to go numb?
Numbling, tingling, I can't, like this you could even easily pull compared to this.
Oh, so you got weakness too because of it?
Absolutely, still to this day. So like, that's why when I started training with Sam, or he was training me generously as a purple belt, that's when I would train with you guys once a week.
Yeah.
After 4 or 5 weeks, I wouldn't see you for like 6 to 8 months, 6 to 8 weeks.
Because you're recovering?
Imagine this is 2019. So he was training me like in 2017.
Okay.
So the herniation was a lot bigger.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is when it's a little bit better, but still protruding 11.
Right.
Wow.
So that's the thing where, like, I think even with the whole series, you know, Romulo has his story where he messed up business-wise. Leo, you know, got essentially asked to leave Alliance, and he formed like the groups out here and left. And now this is like essentially our stories as far as for with grappling. But as far as for everything we did, what was your perspective like on training me then? Because it must have been weird that a guy shows up once or twice a week and then we don't see him for 2 months.
I knew you were injured, and you know, like when we trained, it was just I just treated you as fragile as you were then.
Right.
And somehow we made it work. Just a little technique, you know, here and there, and just try to keep moving. That's it, and try to accommodate for you know, your inability to use your right shoulder.
Right, because I do have adhesive capsulitis, which
yes.
he just saw earlier. Like before, I used to be able to just touch my ass. That's it. I couldn't even like.
Oh, you couldn't. Oh, wow.
That was it.
You had to buy a bidet or something, right?
What's that?
You needed a bidet, right?
Yeah, at one point I had to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I needed a bidet at one point. But it was like one of those things. Like I'm curious, and you don't have to be. You don't have to pull back, but like. Do you look at someone like that who wants to train in jiu-jitsu but can't as regularly as like, this guy's kind of fucked, or?
No, I mean, I always thought there's a way to train around injuries. There's people that get injured all the time, and you know, somehow you made it work. You made the adjustments, and you just kept on coming back.
Yeah, essentially, it took like 13 years for me to start training with you.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, because I couldn't imagine spending $250 for an academy, $200, and then I would have to quit. I would have to burn bridges because, you know, these gym owners would have to like suspend.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and most people too, like if you own a gym, they want you. In fact, like a lot of, back when I used to own my gym, a lot of my advisors would tell me like, it's just a death sentence for your gym if you don't get them to sign up for at least a 6-month, but usually a year contract, right?
Right.
So like if you're doing that at most gyms want that, right? So that way everyone doesn't leave the gym during December, right? Because that frequently will happen. Then they make you sign these contracts, and if you're injured and you're in and out, like you really can't be like held down to anything if it's that touch and go. So then it becomes difficult to even train at a place, right? I would imagine.
Did you guys keep training during the pandemic?
Yes. It's my life, so I had to have a small group. But in the beginning, even for the first 2 or 3 months, the initial lockdown, even the gyms, I think everyone in LA at least closed down. Like unless you had like great friends and somebody had like some training that they could do in their backyard. But people were really worried in the beginning, like, you know, everyone was cleaning off the groceries and everything, and like it was a little bit nutty. People thought that like maybe you just contracted this thing and die immediately or something. So I think when they made the lockdown, like most gyms actually legitimately really closed in LA for those first little while. When they made the second lockdown, after they had that, there was like that little 2-week hiatus or whatever they did, and then they're like, you know what, we're going back into a second lockdown. A lot of gyms were of the mind that if we close now, we're never going to open again, right? So then there was a lot of like secret training going on.
With masks on.
Yeah, sometimes, right? Like, I know in Japan, they actually, my old gym at Carpe Diem, I would see, because I used to train out there all the time when I lived there, but they forced them throughout the whole pandemic, maybe even still now, because you still can't go in with the tourist visa. They're training full on, but with masks, which is like, you're like sweating into somebody else's eyes, but you have a mask on, like that's gonna stop. It's bizarre, but it's interesting to see the way different countries and different people dealt with it.
It's kind of stupid, in my opinion, to train with a mask on because you're already in such close proximity. But that's just my opinion.
What's the mask doing? Yeah, for sure, at that point.
Well, what'd you end up doing, bro? Because I know you were opening a business also?
Yeah, it took some time to open, but I was fortunate enough to have people from the gym come over to the place and train. And, you know, I still have some buddies come over once or twice a week. And, you know, for the days I can't go, you know, they train in the morning.
Wait, but you opened up a restaurant during the pandemic?
Yeah, well, we actually...
Wow, that's brave.
Yeah, we had a business in the lot, and then we ended up opening the other spot next to us opened up, and for some reason, I don't know why, but we just jumped the gun and did it. It's down the street from my house. So.
Well, I mean, it worked out, right? The pandemic's
Yes.
largely over, and you know, things are pretty much back to normal, and you're still there. So
Definitely adapted to it.
yeah, that's good.
And I think you just started going to Jean-Jacques Machado's academy now, right?
Yes, yeah.
In Woodland Hills. But for them, it's mask off, like it's back to regular training, right?
It's yeah. Now everything seems to be going back to the flow of things, and yeah, and more people. More people are, I think, just anxious to start training again.
Yeah.
See, I totally envision that, like people like injuring themselves, like it's a zombie movie because everyone's like out of shape.
Oh man,
or not training.
There's some truth to that too. Like most people did not train. Like a lot of people, even some of my black belt friends, didn't train one bit during the pandemic for 2 years or so, and then coming back to it. You lose your timing and your cardio, first two things that just go right out the window, and that usually leaves you after only about 2 weeks or so, right? So then 2 years of that, they're out of shape. Most people didn't do hardly anything. They hunkered down at work, or they're just watching Netflix to just pass the time or whatever, and they come back to training, and it's just like injury city. It's terrible. So it's definitely a bit of a growing pains getting back into things.
So this is how, so the pandemic happened, we were training. I talked to several people who train in Jiu-Jitsu, and I won't mention their name because I don't know if they want to, but we're spur in the moment conversing here. He was like, dude, I'm not training and I'm a black belt. I just don't know what's gonna happen. So he just made me feel good about like, you know what, it might be good for your neck right now. Because if you keep doing the same thing over and over where it's train for a month, out 6 to 8 weeks, it may be a sign for you not to train yet. And during that 2-year break, then I found John, which is ironic because on IG, if you forget to like someone's post, the algorithm throws you out. So I didn't even get to see most of your posts. And then he posted something on February where he offered just for this month a discount. And then it was just one of those weird things because it's like, okay, this might be a good time because I just shot Home Below, shot Kenny Florian, Leo Vieira, we went to the picture lock. You know what, just persevered through it because I was so excited to do the training sessions with John at that point. And it was just a case of, it was now or never. I felt good. I took a completely 2 full years of no training, and then knock on the mat, it's been 2.5 months. My neck hasn't throbbed.
That's
Nice.
awesome. I remember you'd always, every time we talked, you were just like, something's off and it's not getting any better, or just.
And I come off like a bitch, you know. I mean,
For sure.
No, but it was legit.
No,
Right.
I mean that makes sense. Like the way it looks, right?
Right.
Because you are limited. There's only so much you can do, especially early on where you're pushing the boundaries, right? And it's really easy to go beyond that, and then you're hurt because that, of course you are, right? You're limited and you went too far. But then it looks like, gee, you're the guy now that's always hurt, right? And that sucks. Nobody wants to be that guy. But if we don't take care of ourselves properly, it's easy to become that guy. Right? I think people forget that unless they've been injured seriously, especially like somewhat recently, right? Because then it's right there and like, oh yeah, I've been that guy, right? I think anyone that's trained long enough has been that guy for at least a little while. So, but in the beginning, you never want to be that guy, and it's foreign, and you feel like you're a failure or something. But it can happen to anybody.
Like we're becoming good friends. We're good friends, and it's like one of those cases where I felt so insecure if I went back to Jean-Jacques.
Sure.
Because they'd be like, oh, it's this guy though, the 3-month guy. He's here for 1 month, takes 2 months on break. So I didn't want to deal, which I love Marcelo and them at the front desk, and I could imagine it would have been frustrating, but you had a different, how did you look at it then? And it's tough because we're friends, right? So you immediately forgive your friend.
Sure.
But from the perspective, if you didn't know me, how would you?
No, I was just, I just thought it was pretty awesome that you, even despite your injury, you made it out to train. You know, like a lot of people would probably just, take the easy road and just use it as, maybe use it as an excuse, or just maybe just take some time off and maybe go a different route. But yeah, you kept on coming back despite the injury, and always reminded me you're not to mess with this side.
Right, because my shoulder was so bad, it was worse than my neck.
Oh wow, that's okay.
I remember you couldn't even do closed guard. I think you couldn't even lay off on your back, right?
Oh.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
It was like a dilemma because I couldn't like hold my neck up.
Yeah.
But my shoulder was the one that felt the most pain.